I still love Premiere, but if it's not working for me, like I told him straight up, I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
There was no way to turn off the crosshair in your cinema crop? With me today, my dear friend Ryan Laux, who now lives in LA. We've done the show a couple times with you, Ryan, over the
Since its inception.
Since its inception a couple years ago. And we haven't done a show since maybe like a year ago.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, the pandemic stuff happened. We did some stuff through the pandemic, but then everyone just got busy working on our new Star Wars movie that's going to be our longest thing we've ever done and hopefully our coolest thing we've ever done. So that's kind of where I've been.
That's right. And I've been out of the loop a bit with everything you guys do here on the East Coast now that I'm out west.
Yep.
So I'm going to be pleasantly surprised by the end result.
Yeah, you have not even seen the majority of what we've done.
Seen
which is
tidbits.
Exciting.
Yeah.
But anyway, welcome back, folks. Mike couldn't be with us today. Ryan happened to be in town.
Yep.
And I have a new apartment and kind of a new setup for the show.
Oh, this is the first time you're doing the podcast here?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So that was another big thing is I had a move that I did. And so we just kind of took a break from the show for a little while. But so yeah, hopefully Mike can get in here soon. We can start doing shows again and talking to fun people like you.
Like me.
Like you.
An old regular.
You're like a third host.
Yeah, I'm a spiritual guest
host. Well, anyway, we don't really have an agenda today, so we're kind of, they have that section on Twitch that's just chatting. That's what we're doing today. What?
Just chatting.
What? That's a thing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I have a coffee. Ryan didn't want a coffee.
Well, it's irrelevant. I was just talking to my roommate Cash at the edit house because we want to do a dedicated setup in our guest house, for multi-use. We want to do for BTS video, for maybe podcasts, Twitch streaming, like just a dedicated studio setup. Don't have to set it up every single day. It's just ready to go, camera ready to go. Because I think the biggest hurdle with us being very just busy people is that setup time. That's one thing. And
it's what we just went through doing this,
it's like so much tweaking just to like get a little podcast going. If we have just a place we just walk right in, start recording and go, it's going to be like really, really ideal. So I think that's our next month or so is trying to get that set up.
Really let me know if you need any help with that, because I went through, the soundproofing and all that jazz. So
any help we can get to get it up and running.
I think that's the dream. I mean, we were just kind of talking about this, is having a dedicated space to cut out that setup time and just be able to create create stuff that looks good, that has a certain thing to it, because we want to present ourselves well on the internet.
Exactly. Well, I think that's always been the push and pull, right? It's you can always take the cheap option and do it quickly, but we've always been on the kind of, call it, purist side of wanting things to look really professional. It's just the look we like.
Yeah.
So we want to put that extra effort in, but it's at the cost of time and resource. And once we have it in place, it's ready to go. And the thing is, a lot of us have this gear because we're all professionals. We have it ready to go. It's just putting it into place in the setup we need and not having to set up every time. So
yeah, not having to kill yourself to especially when someone, you're sitting here waiting for me to get stuff set up. And if you ever had a guest, it's like, that's just like,
it's got to be ready to go
of their time, so that's
we haven't had, we've had some in-person guests on the friends of ours.
Yeah, a couple times.
But otherwise, mostly Zoom.
Well, I anticipate us doing stuff like this, where we could have the iPad going or something, and then we do get that Bluetooth module to like loop them into the show. Be great to have a producer.
Yeah, producers are always helpful. Yeah.
But yeah, so what else has been going on?
Well, I haven't seen you since January.
I know.
Which doesn't feel like that because we talk all the time.
Yeah.
And we've been very busy. But let's see, I was in the Maldives.
You were in the Maldives again?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
What was different about going back the second time?
It was a lot more focused. I would say the first time around, and you remember as part of the first crew, there was a lot of kind of figuring out the best places to shoot, the best subjects to shoot. I think there was a lot of over capture, and then eventually we'll use just the best of the best, which ends up with a lot of extra footage and there's a lot of things we knew were going to cut out. And I think now being able to go to it again with the awareness of the location and knowing exactly what the good places are to shoot, and then the level up was going in with creative concepts already planned out.
Right.
So I think this format that we had this year of each person having their own deliverable and each person coming up with their own ideas that they can execute well. So far it's been great, and we're in the post process now, but I've finished now three posts, and I'm like super happy with them. I've been able to take my time with them, really make them great, polish them up. And then I can also have them live on as independent, personal posts on my social media. Then I can kind of help kind of show what I can do as an artist. So that one video definitely like put us on the map. That first one, that was that 1 minute packed sizzle reel of crazy VFX and every possible camera and angle you could think of. But now we have footing and grounding in that location with the client too, which has been fabulous. And the Sun CM Resort staff were outstanding once again. They really took care of us and they believe in us. So it's been one of the best client relationships I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
I must say, when I did see the edit for the trip that I went, I was like blown away with the pace and the sheer number of visual effects things going on.
Oh yeah.
With how much of that was cash?
I would say like 80% of it.
Wow,
like,
dude,
if not more.
Holy crap!
Like I think we, a bunch of us had different pieces we were working on. Like I had a few pieces. I had my little, my 360 star lapse into DSLR, and then I had me and Maud did the collab where we had the magic umbrella, I call it. It's the drink comes in, we put an umbrella in, but the drink pulls away. The umbrella is actually a real size umbrella. So those are kind of pieces that individually people worked on. Like Will had a piece and Steven had 360 pieces. So those pieces definitely came together as like ready to go. And then Cash was the glue to it all, having to go through like all the selects, piece together that kind of crazy impactful sequence, and then find those transition points between the pieces that were already done, and then finding footage that could be made into new pieces to create new transitions.
Yeah. And
something that she was able to like take and do, and it's unbelievable. So I was able to help out with building out and executing on those extra transitional pieces. This was last August, September. And that's where I would be able to fit in, with the post side of things. It's like helping build out those pieces. So, and then just, we were able to get, as we built out the sequence, reach out to the rest of the team and say, hey, can you finish up this piece a little bit more? Is there anything from this piece you can work on? And then we would bring those in a rolling process. So then that's how we got the
a little bit
result.
of delegating, a little bit of
delegate. Like we wanted Ryan to finish up his, or to refine his 3D. He captured a bunch of different the trees and the path at different points, and we created like a 3D card animation flying through at 2.5D, and he built that out for us sort of on the later side of it, which then I was able to take, transition from that into Will's piece, which was a endless infinite zoom through different pieces, which ended in a drone shot that Colin shot. So it was truly a collaborative effort, each piece going into the next, and like it's just, the whole thing was a project that I've never thought I'd be a part of. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was, and it was so rewarding creatively. It was very, very cool.
Yeah. I'm just remembering now, for background too, for any listeners, that initially the project had come about, and I talked about it a little bit maybe on the previous show, but the project had come about from a connection that you had made, our friend, which is awesome. She goes by Cash Bunny on the internet.
Yeah, well, she had assembled her own team before I met her for Virgin Voyages, which is a cruise line, and did a similar video, which was a high impact social piece, many different types. There was bullet time and hyperlapses and 360. And so as far as I know, that Sun CM Resorts saw that video and was like, we need that. We need that style.
But you guys were there for 20 days
Originally, the first trip was 25 days because it was 5 resorts, 5 days per resort.
All just to capture content that you guys as a team kind of envisioned to create one video, one marketed video for the hotel, resort chain,
right?
Rather. And what was the goal the second time coming around? Was it another singular video, or was it literally just posts?
It was posts. So the idea was we're delivering 40 or so individual assets that they can post throughout the year.
Yeah, it's almost like the first trip with this client was a trial run of the team and the concepts and the abilities, and the second time was a more focused approach, like you kind of mentioned,
right?
With just a more goals in mind of what you guys wanted to create.
And one thing the client said to us when we were there, we asked them, like, what was it that made you want to bring us back? And they said, well, one, the video, it was outstanding, and it went basically viral amongst the Maldives. Like, every Maldivian person was talking about it. It was the first time they had seen the resorts there represented in the way that we represented them, with that new wave of creativity.
Well, this reminds me of when we were there. The team that was there after us doing marketing materials for the resort was that Italian filmmaking crew.
Correct, yeah.
And they had brought in a different filmmaking crew we looked at their stuff. It was phenomenal. They looked like top of the line adventure commercials for all kinds of stuff. It looked like, think of like the best car commercial you've ever seen, and like going through mountains and stuff like that. Yeah. And that was the crew they
theirs
brought.
Was uber cinematic, and their piece was commercial broadcast style for TV out there.
It's a different market
for their hotel. Like, it was when we got there, that video was running on their video loops on the TVs and stuff like that. So that's definitely a whole unique traditional style, whereas ours is very social friendly. And I think the really cool part was when ours went out, we were hitting not only the hotel and resort market and social, we were also hitting the filmmaking community. Mm-hmm. And it's even last week, it was reshared again by a filmmaking page. So we were able to hit two different communities of people.
Yeah.
People that appreciate the art and creativity, and people appreciate the beauty of the Maldives. And it was very, very cool.
Yeah, it's almost like because you push so hard on what am I trying to say? I'm just thinking like that's the specialty of that crew.
Right.
It's just stuff that is
the most beautiful stuff possible.
Well, it's designed for social media.
Our crew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's designed for like, not in a bad way, but like shorter attention spans, It's designed to squeeze a huge amount of stuff into a tiny amount of time in a creative and entertaining way.
Right.
It's almost in itself, the edit becomes the entertainment,
Right. And that's what most of the comments were. It's like, this edit is insane.
Yeah, it's like you can't stop watching because there's so much stuff going on.
And you'll have to go back and kind of, it's almost like a Where's Waldo? Like, you have to go back and see every moment because they happen so fast.
Yep.
But that's kind of the fun part of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cooking, that edit, man. That's like the sizzliest sizzle ever invented. Because there were so many different creators working on it, you could see different styles throughout the video.
Yeah, exactly.
Of like, it almost reminds me of that first edit party edit that you guys did, where everyone did their own 6-second thing. You did the boat thing. Remember that?
Yep.
It's very similar to that in that everyone gets to bring a little bit of what they're good at to the table, which makes the video more interesting. So
yeah, it's a true collaborative edit. I think
that's what you get. Yeah, man. That's like.
So I'm hoping like that style kind of permeates the industry even more, because I think it's so exciting. It's so fun. It's great for the resort chains. It's great for the marketing teams, but it's also great for the creators because we can bring so much of our own style and creativity to it, while also like getting paid and have a great experience. So it's really a win-win on all sides.
And all of the espresso martinis you could ever drink.
There were a lot of coffees this time around.
The edit party crew introduced me to the espresso martini.
Oh, was it really the first time for you?
I'd never heard of them.
I tasted it for the first time on the second trip. Yeah.
You didn't even have one the first trip?
Well, I'm not a big caffeine drinker.
Okay.
Yeah, but I had to taste it. I was like, all right, that's pretty good.
I finally had one. It wasn't my cup of tea.
Those are your cup of martini.
Yeah. That was funny. Red Bulls, espresso martinis. That's all you need to fuel the edit party crew.
To a filmmaking crew, yeah. It's funny. So funny. So yeah, we're excited to see more posts as they roll out slowly.
Yeah, man.
It's been super exciting.
Well, I have fun things to talk about on the film front.
Yeah. So, like, what's the true status of the new Star Wars Frontier?
What's the status? Production probably, I would guess, has about a week's worth left of days, like 7 days to go to wrap this thing.
Filming.
Of filming. Yeah.
Okay.
We've gone through so many evolutions of this project. The film started as another just kind of action movie, and we were thinking about 8 to 12 minutes or something like that. Initially, there was a 5-minute cap on the competition that we used to submit to, which is called the lightsaber choreography competition on YouTube, and it's kind of what has gotten us so many viewers and so many fans. So in 2022, I guess that was last year, 2022, they say, okay, this year we're doing no time limit. So we said, okay, great, we'll make something a little bit longer.
I didn't even know that. Right?
That was the thing.
Okay.
No time limit. It was like the 30-year anniversary of the competition or something like that, 25. So we said, great, we'll do what we usually do, but we'll add a little bit more story this time so that we learn a little bit about the characters in the movie. It'll be cool. Naturally, we were overambitious and shot a little bit more, or, just like
a little bit more.
Conceived a bigger story than we thought we did. But we really liked what we were getting, and we had our buddy's nephew, Dan, his nephew Trevor, got to be in the movie. We're like, great, we have like a kid actor in the movie. That's going to be a huge selling point, and he did great, and everything we did was working. But then we realized when we got to a rough cut of that, which wound up being about 15 minutes, that we said, damn, this is really good. And we definitely, it's too big. It's not going to be done in time to submit for the competition. So we said, you know what? Let's not enter it. Let's actually make this the biggest thing we've ever done and take the rest of the year to finish production. That didn't happen either because we're all, busy people having our normal jobs, scheduling conflicts, et cetera, et cetera.
This is not a full-time job for any of you.
No. We couldn't get it done before the end of the year. So we said, okay, let's go back to the drawing board on some of the stuff we don't like, and maybe we can film some stuff during the winter, but we'll probably wait until the spring. But let's not plan for that. So we try to, edit during the winter, film some stuff during the winter. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now that we're looking at 25 minutes and we're saying, all right, we've waited a year. We've waited this long. maybe, or we waited 6 months.
Yeah.
Now it's spring. Let's reshoot some stuff. And because this is our first time making a movie
longer than 5
minutes.
Yeah.
And
true.
It is an insane learning experience for all of us, crafting a story that we want to tell. And it's been kind of a benefit that there's no time limit on this. It's really just on us to produce something that is hopefully the best thing we've ever made. And it's been an insanely long journey. We've shot 36 days now, or 36 individual shoots.
Yeah. You're basically getting into Hollywood territory.
Yes. Yeah. There's
probably a lot more efficiencies in Hollywood, but
that's the thing.
Yeah. I think all of Tenet was shot in 40 days or something. I don't know.
The thing is, these shoots would go so much faster if we had another one of me or a dedicated lighting person, which just me, Mike, and maybe a couple other people are the only people that have any idea what's going on these film shoots, and we're just directing people. Let's hold for that.
Yeah.
I now live above a dry cleaners, which means every hour or so during the day, you hear the conveyor go off, and it's like a low rumble. So I probably rambled on and on there, but
so I think the direction we were going was, I wanted to say the crew is small.
It's too small.
It's too small. So it's 30. It's been 36 days, but on a bigger production, you have dedicated
20
people. Yeah, I mean, you're the director, DP, gaffer.
Yeah.
like
Mike is in
all
the movie,
one.
so he can't.
Mike is a
step back
director
a lot of times.
a director actor, exactly.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is an actor, and then we have a lot of friends that help us on the crew side. But it's tough. It's tough.
One interesting thing that did happen, and that we foresee will happen once we publish this movie, as we had somebody reach out to us recently, younger kid, lives out in LA, who is putting together a Star Wars fan film. And he's like, hey, we're getting together a team with some of these other creators. We look at some of these other people's films, 2 million views here, 4 million views there, big productions.
Right.
And they look great, like great fan films. And they see our choreography for the fight stuff, and we're like, oh, maybe that could be your guys' thing.
Right.
And so I think it goes along with what we've been saying about just the nature of the industry of indie film, and like where it's gone now with social media, where you get to collaborate with people just because they happen to stumble across your work. And that's what we're looking to dip our hands more into, is just networking in that sense.
Right. I mean, to speak on the more, I'm a big part of like the VFX creator community now, and like the independent, creative community on Instagram, and collaboration is key for growth. I've heard that a million times, whether it's working together, collaborating officially on paper on Instagram as a collaboration, or just, working as a team, not only for social media growth, but also just career growth too. I mean, I've found, now that I live in LA, now that I made these connections and friends, and I'm truly a part of the community. Like now I'm getting job offers and like project asks and things I never thought I would, just because I'm like in it.
It's really true, man.
And every single week it's like a new, like, hey, you do this. And I think that's what I've been saying too, and now saying to myself, which I've been terrible at, is sharing. Sharing is key. And that's what we're doing right now, right? So, but a lot of the times, we're both kind of jack of all trades type people in terms of creativity and content production. But a lot of times people don't know all the other things you do if you don't show it,
Yeah. And I think this is one thing we've brought up a couple times too, between us. So Ryan and I were roommates for like 3 or 4 years in college.
Yeah.
We got to know each other very well. We had the same job. We had the same internship in college. And we both have like our things we're good at, and we both have slightly different personalities too, because Ryan has always been more of like, I guess, more of the sherry,
I guess
talky.
I'm more extroverted. I like kind of, dare I say, humble bragging.
No, in a good way though.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, that's just always been our thing. And I'm sitting here like,
I work in PR.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've become like a marketing representative.
well, no, just
myself.
personality wise, like I want to sit in my room and edit alone for 10 hours, know?
Right, yeah. And I usually like to prioritize like
Yeah.
social interactions and meetups and like.
But what I'm saying is, sitting in your room editing alone for 10 hours isn't as conducive to networking. And like, again, like I even want to start doing more like we did for the night kind of thing. Like I want to roll while I'm editing, so that I have content that I can, these shareable moments that I stumble across in my regular everyday work. Because if you don't show it, it basically didn't happen. If you don't share
it's the editor's paradox.
No, I'm serious. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most of the content that comes up on my Instagram feed and Discover is all BTS. Yeah. Almost 95% of it is BTS, because people love to see the process. And so do I. Part of the reason I got into video production, VFX, just by watching the behind the scenes of movies on DVDs,
right?
Disney movies and like Transformers, and I'd be more interested in watching the behind the scenes documentary that I got the bonus disc than I would the actual movie, because I was so interested in the process. And I think social media has now just pushed that to an exponential level. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to know the process so they can try to do it themselves, and it's really, really great. Everyone it's so much more accessible to create things and be creative if you want to be a part of this industry. But as people on the other side of it that do work professionally, it's like, it's a choice for us. Do we just kind of stay in our profession and do our job and go home? Or do we want to like teach and spread the knowledge and skill that we've learned? And I think that's a tricky balance when we're trying to like pay our bills and do our work, but we're also really find a interest in sharing what we've learned, because a lot of the times we haven't been taught by anybody. We had to kind of figure it out. And I think that knowledge sharing is key to success in this industry.
I mean, we all started somewhere with Andrew Kramer, right?
Yeah, and I should say, I was just at NAB for the first time. NAB is the National Association of Broadcasters, and it's basically a filmmakers and gear manufacturer convention that happens in Las Vegas, and they just had their 100th anniversary. I'd never been. We had been following YouTubers like Cord Digital had been there years and years before, and of course Andrew Kramer of Video Copilot, which is a After Effecks training website.
If you're in the industry, you probably know him or have heard him talk about something.
If you've ever tried to learn After Effects, he was like the main source of tutorials all the way back from 2007, 2008. So when I was learning After Effects in 2009, he was the first tutorials I stumbled upon. I had the chance to meet Andrew Kramer this year, both at an Adobe organized meetup and at Motion Designers After Party. And it was more of a fun...
You have a picture with him, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So it was definitely more of like a fanboy experience to meet him. But it was like surreal because... And it wasn't just me. Like you then we both meet him. I'm meeting friends there that are also meeting him for the first time. We're all having the same conversation. Basically, all just wanted to go up and shake his hand and thank him, saying like, "You taught me After Effects." And it was so funny because like, I went up and did that thing, and then like 10 minutes later, another kid walks up. Andrew Kramer, oh my God, you taught me After Effects. Like that's all. That's all he gets. But he's so nice about it, and he's so funny about it.
I've always heard that.
Yeah. So kudos to him for kind of putting up with all of the juniors kind of coming up to him. But it's crazy when you know. I mean, think about school when you have a professor or teacher that really has a profound impact on what you've learned. You remember them, and you value their connection and their experience. Now, put it, in this scenario where you have someone that only teaches online that doesn't have a physical or, actual communication connection with the people that watch those tutorials. But then once they meet in person, it's like, wait, you were my teacher. Like for so long, we've never met, but like I owe you my life almost. So it's a very surreal experience, but it was very cool. And I'm, glad I had that fanboy moment when I could.
Yeah. That's so cool, man. Who else was at NAB? Did you meet anybody else fun at NAB?
Let's see. So it's the second time I met Josh Eo. He's a channel on YouTube called Make Art Now. Grew as a YouTuber in the past maybe 5 or 6 years. And I really like his style because he brings a very unique approach to talking about like his gear setups and his usage of cameras. Like he has a bit of a narrative of he's got a little AI personal assistant that like helps him kind of navigate through his videos. Yeah. He comes up with these crazy rigs where he mounts like a 400 millimeter zoom lens on a gimbal and push to its limit. He just filmed a vlog on an Inspire drone by just mounting it in a crazy way. And then recently manufactured and brought to market basically a spinning camera arm to do perfect orbits. And he calls it the Orbit.
Wait, are you talking about, because he did a video a while ago on remember he made that rig that was like the Michael Bay shot thing?
That's what it is. So
it's inspired by that.
He actually partnered with some manufacturers and brought it to market through Kickstarter and stuff.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's called the Orbit, and basically it's a motor.
How big is it though?
So the motor, it's like the size of like a globe, and it mounts to like a little truss you can get, or if you have like a rig or something, and then you have a pole that kind of center weights in the middle. You camera on one side and counterweight on the other side, and then you can choose the speed with an app, and you can have it choose how fast it orbits around something. And what he's been doing is he's been pushing it to the limit lately by getting a longer speed rail. So his latest video, he took like a 40-foot rail and put like a 400 millimeter lens on one side and just stood in the middle, and it's orbiting around him with the most insane bokeh possible.
I think I've seen that.
Like crazy zoomed in and compression. And he's just in his backyard.
We kind of were experimenting with that imagery in our short we did called In Any Case.
Yeah.
It's something that it's got a really interesting look to it because it's not typical of how you would shoot a scene. It's basically how you would shoot an intimate scene, but backing up the camera and doing it for like action, which is what we did. Throwing on longer lenses and like changing how your background plane interacts with your characters is like such a fun thing.
Yeah.
Like we used a 135 millimeter or something for that, and the city looked like it was like on them, but also doing any kind of motion is exactly the Michael Bay shot. Stuff
Right.
goes by so fast in the background. It looks like anime almost.
Another waiting period.
Let's pause for a break from our sponsor.
We'll be right back.
I want to go to NAB next year.
I know we really wanted you there, but you were filming.
We're filming for the movie.
Yeah. So me and Josh went. It was fun though.
Yeah, we'll make it.
It was very tiring because Vegas can be tiring,
Yeah.
and going between the strip and back and forth is tiring. But it was very, very fun. Definitely want to go back, bring more people with me. And I think so. This is something that I was talking to you about, talking to Josh about. I felt like I didn't have a proper angle of how to sell myself when I was there. Because part of the reason I was there was, one, because me and Josh are just kind of gear enthusiasts. We love seeing the new camera gear, new stuff. And that was a heavy part of it. And then also part of it was just making connections and just meeting people, other artists that, work in our industry. But I feel like a lot of it is gear focused, and personally, I'm a little less in the production side of things these days. I'm more into post and editing. So when it came down to meeting like the people at Aperture or Small Rig or Canon or the camera manufacturers, I didn't have much to say or like look at. Josh was like really excited to look at the camera gear, but I've been a little less excited about camera gear just because my career kind of shifted. You would definitely find it a lot more interesting than me because you're so involved in kind of building out your rig and being a professional DP. But then when I went to the post side and I went to the Adobe booth, I like lit up because I was able to talk to like the After Effects reps about like new features and bugs and what I've been doing to push the software to its limits. So I think once I got there, I had a much more rewarding experience personally because it was more in line with what I do. And then there was also like these, motion designers after parties. There was one hosted. That was super fun because I got to meet other artists, talk to other animators, people that kind of have the same interests. Super fun. That's where I met Andrew Kramer. And then Adobe also hosted another after party. I got to meet the Adobe reps and have the similar conversations. And we'll see. But they also said that there might be some more community outreach in Los Angeles and New York. And, they really do care about the community. And they also have heard the complaints that have arose with their software, like Premiere Pro and After Effects. And, obviously there's so much talk.
A lot of people, that's like 90% of YouTubers that are in like filmmaking are talking about.
Well, they're switching to Resolve and
probably
Premiere sucks.
A year ago, that was like the number one like filmmaking thing on YouTube was like why I switched to Resolve. 60 reasons why.
There's like so many videos of people doing that.
Yeah.
But like rightfully so because Premiere has been choking. I think they're in certain regards are too ambitious because they want to bring new features, like new AI features that are going to make things better, but they don't fix the problems that they already have. So it's
I use Premiere for working with freelance and stuff all the time for different clients because they want the Premiere files. And one, it's not my preference, but two, I go in and I see stuff that's been a bug for 6 years.
And they just have never fixed it. Yeah.
And I'll go in and I'll say, that still happens?
Yeah. It's painful.
It makes me die.
But I literally said to the marketing director, I was like, I was talking about this exact conversation. He's like, oh no, we're obviously well aware of it. And this is now public too, because like there's been YouTubers that have talked to them and they've been open about the fact that like the software hasn't kept keeping up. And he said, and I said to him straight up, I'm like, I really don't want to switch. Like, I don't want to have to learn Resolve. I don't want to have to learn new software because I still love Premiere. But if it's not working for me, like I told him straight up, I'm like, the software, I had to downgrade it because the new version was completely crashing on me with an existing project. It was After Effects. And what am I supposed to do? Like, it's...
Yeah, stuff's got to get done, man. If your program's hindering your creative process,
right,
it's supposed to be helping it.
Right. This makes me think back to the Maldives where we had, it was a unique situation where we had so much footage. 12 terabytes of footage.
So many different cameras. Too.
Like, yeah, 15 different cameras of all different codecs and things and that. To be honest, I don't know how Resolve would have kept up. It maybe would have been better.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Premiere choked so hard. The second we imported 360 footage and raw footage, it just like stopped working entirely. So I had to kind of help Cash with like making proxy of everything, making master time lapse, and then at least trying to narrow it down and go camera by camera. But it really slowed down the process because of all those technical hurdles. And I don't know what the better solution would have been, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting, man. It's an interesting landscape. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes, you know?
Yep. And I think a lot of, too, what the conversation with NAB with Adobe, they're like, yeah, we know people are switching because Resolve is free, but it's a different business model. Like, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, DaVinci Resolve is free, at least the basic version, because they sell cameras, they sell switcher hardware, they sell things that can offset the price of the software. Adobe doesn't sell any hardware. The only business they have is software. That is funny,
yeah.
So they, you know, people complain about the cost of Premiere Pro or in Creative Cloud, but that's all Adobe has. If they offer it for free, that they would have nothing.
Yeah, Blackmagic sells $12,000 cameras.
Right, exactly. So they can offset it. You know, if Adobe started coming out with cameras, then maybe Premiere would be free. But like, sorry, it's not. So
I don't think anyone would buy an Adobe camera.
I wonder how many bugs that would have. Imagine Adobe camera just stops working like 3 seconds later.
That's too bad.
The Premiere Pro 6K RAW.
Well, I feel like
overheating, setting on fire.
I feel like their marketing would be because like cloud is like kind of a cool like
I mean, that's the thing they're actually selling is camera to cloud integration with Frame.io. That's a real thing.
Wait, what does it do?
So if you have an Atomos recorder with a
I saw this.
It's with an Ethernet adapter or Wi-Fi attachment. You can record live proxies that get uploaded as you record them.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah. So then you can have remote editors start to work on stuff as a production's going.
Can I do a rant right now?
Here we go. This is for the internet.
I mean,
like a reel.
I can't get it. I can't understand it. I can't even get words out over how much sense this doesn't make with Atomos. Okay, you've heard me talk about this before, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I used an Atomos for like 5 years, you know, just like the tiny one that we had at work. I would always go to do a cinema crop, and there would be a freaking crosshair in the middle. And I would say, I don't want a crosshair in the middle. Why would I want a crosshair in the middle? I'm like raising my voice so much.
And there's really no way to turn it off.
There is no way to turn it off. So I email support, and it's been 5 years. And I'm saying to myself, I ordered the Shinobi 7 or whatever they came out with because I was like, I'll give it another shot. I'm looking for a 7-inch lightweight monitor. And I go through the change logs, nothing in the change logs. I email support again. And I just have to say to myself, like, no one else has complained about this.
Right.
That the simplest thing, like, they literally market to indie filmmakers unless I'm wrong, unless they have fixed it or have done something to amend this, or there's some workaround, there is no way to turn off the crosshair in your cinema crop. It's just so like I've never heard anybody else complain about this. Everyone uses Atomos monitors. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Is that not laughable to you?
It's like, are you really the only person that cares about that?
But how could you see what you're watching? They're not thin crosshairs. It's like a fucking crosshair. So anyway, but then you go buy a small HT, you spend $3,000 on a monitor, which is what I did because I was tired of all these bullshit monitors that like can't get the simplest things straight.
I mean, I wonder if that's like that Hollywood industry thing that every viewer has a crosshair on it and like that's part of what you do. I don't know.
I would be okay with a small, thin black crosshair. My mind can take that out.
Yeah.
A thick white crosshair, I can't take that out of my vision. You know, it's always ruining the input that goes into my brain.
Yeah.
Like I can't compose a shot. Is that just me? Am I freaking crazy for thinking that? Okay. Anyway,
There you go. You could put that on.
that's my rant.
Put that on social, clipped up, and see if anyone will see it.
Am I going bananas?
It's the little things.
It literally is though, because I'm a big user interface person.
Yeah.
Like I understand.
That's one reason you didn't want to. You tried a Sony Alpha camera.
I understand why Sony menus are the way they are, and I think once you know it, it's fine. But it's just not fun or easy to use. And like I said, once you know it, you probably know it, and it's fine. But it annoys me that it still looks like it's from 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Like the menus are atrocious. And then you come over to a Sigma FP, and everything is so clean and easy to find. And like I said, I shoot with the Nikon cameras too with your team, and there are legitimately 3,000 camera options.
Oh, it's unbelievable how many options.
It's not easy to get a UI that would be like easier, because obviously cinema cameras don't deal with photography. So that's 2,000 less things you have to fit into a UI, because there's so many photography specific settings that you need to be able to change. So I understand why Blackmagic can do a different UI and Sigma FP and things like that. But I don't know. That's, cameras are a personal preference, and that's just one of the things that I'd like, is having a cleaner interface. And okay, rant part 2. You cannot market to filmmakers if you don't put shutter angle as a thing on your cameras. I don't know what the deal with that is. I just think that would be like an easy thing to integrate. I guess it's not something a lot of people are asking for, because it's not a huge deal.
So one thing that so I was just trying the Nikon Z8 because I work on the campaign, and they have not brought in shutter angle as far as I know. But when you're shooting in N-Log on the cinema side, you can now choose a decimal specific shutter speed, which is kind of nice. So, traditionally on DSLRs, you're limited to, like, if you're shooting double of 24, you have to do like 1/50, which is like close to 180, but not exactly. You can now dial in exactly 48 if you wanted to. Or whatever shutter speed you wanted. And it's also partly for a flicker reduction. So if you have like a light flicker that isn't 60 hertz, isn't 50 hertz, somewhere weird in the middle, you can now dial in exact shutter speed to compensate for that.
The GH line for Panasonic called that, they had that feature, and it was called like something scan. Like scan related to that.
Like a scan rate, yeah.
That's always good. Well, there's a ton. I mean, the Z8 is.
So I got to use it for one day, and I shoot on the Nikon Z6 too, and for video it doesn't have some of the crazier specs that like the Canon R5 has, the Sony A7S IV, I believe it is, or 3. But last year they came up with the Z9, which basically took like a massive step forward in specs for Nikon and video, with 8K 60 RAW recording internally, with 4K 120. It was insane.
I mean, it's bananas.
Yeah, but the camera body was huge. It was, meant for professional NFL photographers and wildlife and people that need like a crazy extended battery lives. So I tried the Z9, but it was just too heavy for me. It's just a massive body. So with the Z8, they basically took all the brains of the Z9 and made it into a smaller body. It's a little bit bigger than the Z6 and like your Sony Alpha 7s or A7Ss and your R5s. But so far, I really like it, and it's so powerful. It's fast. The autofocus actually works pretty well so far in my testing. And I have not pushed like the RAW recording because it's less of what I do lately. But all those specs are there, and so far everyone that I was able to work with and test it out was pretty pumped with it too. So I'm excited to see where that fits into the market. I think Nikon has really been pushing to break into video, and sure, there's internet jokes about it, and there's like people that just will never buy into it, but I think it's a true contender. I think there are even reviews with the Z9 that the Z9 was like really a groundbreaking product in the camera space. A lot of YouTubers were highlighting it too. So
no, it's unbelievable what they've been able to do with their technology inside their cameras. Like, whew.
Right.
they have packed so much into the small CA. Like if you go look at the spec sheet, it's
Yeah, it's insane.
freaking crazy. Plus IBIS, right?
Yep.
It's like
IBIS full frame, all the raw specs. You can do ProRes RAW internal and RAW, which is their proprietary.
yeah, and NRAW is partnered with DaVinci now, so you got DaVinci support, and that was like a big hurdle for a lot of things. Is NRAW just like wasn't. I mean, that goes back to this whole.
It still doesn't work in Premiere.
Well, that's this whole RAW thing I've been telling you about.
ProRes RAW doesn't work in Premiere either. Actually, no, I'm wrong.
I think
no. Premiere ProRes RAW works in Premiere, but not in Resolve.
Yes, because of all these licensing things.
Because of Apple, right?
It's Apple. It's Red and Blackmagic, all involved in these licensing debates with raw footage. If you don't know anything about this, you should. It's actually pretty interesting to go look up the inception of raw recording for digital cameras, which was, I believe, started by Red, or at least they had the first patent, and their patents they will never let go of because that is just their thing. So all these companies have had to do these workarounds and coming up with different ways, and there's been disputes.
There's been lawsuits from Red
of Blackmagic, having too similar of a way to do their raw so it's crazy. It's crazy. So that's why, I mean, it's like, I'm trying to think. There's a good comparison of technology usage that's just like, it makes things so difficult to integrate.
Reminds me of the reason why DSLRs for a while couldn't do more than 30 minutes per clip was because of I believe it was an EU law that basically taxes cameras that record longer than 30 minutes as video cameras versus like photography cameras. So DSLR manufacturers that wanted to keep their cameras under a certain like tax threshold would just put a limiter on, even though if they were capable of recording more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it was purely a legal thing.
Yep.
It was crazy.
These dumb little things of.
And now recording longer than 30 minutes is like a selling point.
Right.
Which is funny.
Yeah. And that's like, they twisted it to their advantage now. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's all that little tiny stuff that you don't hear about.
Yeah.
But why stuff is the way that it is. It's always been like that.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in, man.
The beautiful world of indie filmmaking. It has ups and downs, left and rights, and it's crazy. You have to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
And you have to stay involved. I mean, we can go down the AI conversation. That's probably a whole episode, to be honest.
That is a whole episode. We don't even know the half of it. That's what everyone's talking about these days. So YouTube a year ago, 2 years ago, was everyone talking about why they're switching to DaVinci. Yeah. And today it's how to use AI in your filmmaking.
Right, exactly.
How
AI is not taking my job, but it is at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's going so fast, and there's nothing I could say right now that hasn't been said about it.
Right.
I don't even really use it that much yet in any way except for concept art. That's been like the one thing we do.
The true generative AI, yeah.
And then we've been playing around with the AI rotoscoping stuff, but that's about it.
Yeah, I was going to say the only thing I'll touch on is how I've been using it in my day-to-day. Really, it's just how Adobe's implemented it. I haven't really gotten into any sort of the generative, a little bit in DALL-E 2 and ChatGPT now to come up with like scripts or concepts or just have some fun with it. But I would say, RotoBrush 2 and AI assisted roto has been very, very beneficial for me and a lot of other people I know. Some of the like AI cleanup tools, like Adobe Podcast AI, like it's been talked about ad nauseum now. But
that's true. AI audio has
it's both amazing and also terrible.
Yeah,
because you have to have a decent enough baseline in order for it to work. It only works in English. I think the way it works is it's basically creating an AI model of your voice and then recreating it.
Right.
So because when you give it audio that really isn't clean enough, it's so like jumbled and garbled and messed up because it's training an AI with bad source material. It's not just cleaning up your audio; it's rebuilding it. Granted, it's still in beta. Maybe it'll get better, but and Adobe says they are going to build it into Premiere or Audition at some point, which will be a lot better. Right now, it's like an upload.
I'm sure it'll crash.
Who knows? Probably, yeah. You have to give it a clean enough source to process because it's basically rebuilding a a version of your voice with AI, I think. At least that's my theory of how it works, because of the way that it sort of jumbles up and makes your voice very strange and robotic when the audio really isn't good enough. It's a little too aggressive. I think we need a way to like dial it back.
Well, hopefully that's what they'll integrate.
Maybe when they build it into Premiere Audition,
maybe some parameters.
There'll be some parameters of like, don't go crazy. Like mix in the original in some way.
Yeah.
There's got to be, because the only other audio cleanup tool I've used is Runway has one. Doesn't seem to do much of a job. The only ones I'm aware of but haven't tried, I saw Boris Effects has one called like Crumple Pop or something. That's supposed to be good. Have not tried it. And then there's also, is there another one? Adobe, Runway.
I don't know if
I can't think of any other ones.
Anyway.
And to finish off, let's see what I'll say. Yeah, so the few times I have used Adobe Podcast, it has worked really well for me. Mostly like iPhone voice notes.
iPhone for sure.
Slightly noisy lav audio, even desktop audio that's like basically good already. But like I just wanted to sweeten it like that last.
Yeah,
10%.
it can be a sweetener. Yeah.
And you've used it with set audio too, which has actually worked out for you, right?
Well, yeah, I tested it specifically on some lines we did during a very windy day. So there was like, we had the dead cat on there. It was doing its job for the most part. But, just being outside and having the mic a little bit too far away on the boom maybe was making it, plus the wind was giving it some weird qualities. And for our character specifically is supposed to be our main like antagonist, big, powerful. So I wanted to bring the low end back, but just doing it manually was, a little bit tricky. So I said, I want to try the podcast thing, and it brought back the low end just like
it basically just rebuilds it.
Well, because I thought, when you first threw it to me, you said, oh, this will make it, this is supposed to make it sound more like a podcast. And so when you think podcast, you think nice and
bass,
well, just a full body sound.
Right.
So I said, I wonder if I could use that just for anything. And it did. It brought back the low end. Great. Yeah, right. And now we have a big boomy voice.
Yeah.
And then of course you retweak it with some, environment, make it sound a little bit more like it's from the environment. But overall, I think it's going to be a really powerful tool for everyone.
Yeah. So yeah,
audio's a big part of the video, man.
It's very important. Very important.
Picking out music now for the trailer and stuff like that. Mike found a really nice trailer track yesterday.
You know what's so funny? So I'm using now Artlist for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly because of their license structure. It's a lot easier to use their tracks for basically any platform or commercial use. But they have the smallest library on paper versus some of the other like Premium Beat or like Audio Jungle. So now it's very common for me to find like the same track being used by multiple videos in all these different industries.
Yeah.
And it even happened with some of the Maldives stuff that like one of us picked out a track that literally like someone else was using for an actual different ad, different client, and like already baked in, like way too late to change it. Like it was so funny that like I'm seeing, and even the other day, a friend of mine did like a sponsored post, and she said that that track was sent to her by an agency, and I was like, oh, this was this video that we did like a year ago. It's the same track. So hopefully they build in more tracks, because the service is great, but the selection is kind of limiting. I do miss Premium Beat. They changed their license structure. They don't include YouTube now for like commercial usage.
Interesting.
So when I'm doing client work, you basically have to pay like $3,000 per track in order to get YouTube usage, which is nuts.
Jesus.
Where it used to be covered for the $50 per track license.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
So I basically can't use it because that's way too much to sell in every time.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think a hot take is you never truly make it. You're always pushing until you just find some point of happiness where you're like, I did enough.
Or you die.
Yeah. You're like, I never made it, but I did enough that it made me really happy and I had a rewarding life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think here I could close on one funny thing that happened to me pretty recently, maybe just under a year ago. I had finally put my old iTunes library back on my phone because I finally had like enough space to like keep my old iTunes library on there. And I found this old guitarist I used to listen to. I don't know where the heck I found him, but I found this album that I had listened to so much when I was in high school. It really inspired me to like learn guitar and like do really cool stuff on guitar. And so I said, you know what? Let me just reach out to, what's he doing these days? And I looked and he hadn't produced an album since way back when. And I'm pretty sure it was a self-produced album. So it wasn't under a label. So I reached out to him with just like a fan email and I was like, hey, I listened to your album like 10 years ago and you inspired me as a kid to like play guitar. And I just remembered it because I rediscovered your album and like you're amazing. Kind of like the Andrew Kramer thing, right?
Yeah.
You remember those people that had that profound impact on you. And he wrote back to me.
No way.
And I forget what he said he's doing now. He's doesn't produce music anymore, but it was a very wholesome, like you could tell how much he appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I think something you hear a lot from people that get older in the industry is like, those are the things that matter to them the most, of like having that impact on like one person is enough to make it all worth it. So I think that's super wholesome. And I think that's what we should all strive for, is helping each other and having a positive impact on the world around us.
Yeah,
So.
I think community is key, and collaboration in community. And, you know, yes, there's people that just want to make money and kind of make it big, but I think there's a lot of people that truly just want to share what they can bring, their creativity, their art, their passions, share with other people that do the same thing, and just kind of really enjoy the process and have a rewarding experience. So, yeah. If you could do that, you've made it.
Very wholesome end. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Little,
as always. So formal.
Little handshake here.
Yeah.
Appreciate
you
coming
know
on.
what? You know something we never did? We
Tell me.
never did like a handshake. People don't do those.
You're saying I've never shaken your hand?
No, but like no. We never like came up with like a special handshake.
Do you think that's something everybody does?
No, but like I don't know. It just never came up. It never came up, you know.